All right, are we live, everyone? Welcome to the ARCA Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Kobe Evans, aka Start and Park Car here, and this is probably the biggest ARCA Racing podcast in the history of the show. Because not only are we discussing Iowa weekend, we are discussing yours truly, myself, Colby Evans. I am making my ARCA Menard Series debut, and I can't take the smile off my face. I am so damn excited for this. I'm a little nervous at the same time, but I'm so damn excited for this. I'm driving the 86 for Club Racing Inc. I cannot tell you guys how excited I am and humbled for this opportunity to make a NASCAR Touring Series start in the ARCA Menard Series. We're also going to be talking about the E-Series combo race with the main division at IRP, and we'll also be talking about the Iowa race as in general, as a whole, going through all the other entries and the storylines where that will go. So, thank you for all joining in the show. We're going to go through my little intro, and then we'll get right into the IRP review. So if you guys know the common drill. Follow me on social media at X or Twitter, whatever you still want to call it. Start and Park Car. We're closing in on 7,000 followers. So if you want to support me, go give me a follow there. Like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on that bell for notifications so you guys never miss a podcast when I go live. We're less than, I think, 40 subscribers away from 2,600. So if we could get to 2,600, that'd be nice. Super chats are open if you'd like to support the show financially. It would mean a lot. You don't have to, but if you want to, it's more than welcome to. And of course, check out the Racing Experts for all NASCAR related content, the official media partner of this podcast. So, whew, that never gets tired of saying that too much. But yeah, the big news, obviously, me making my ARCA Menard Series debut at Iowa Speedway. We will talk more about that when we get to the Iowa portion, but I'll make sure we stay on schedule of what we usually do for the ARCA Racing podcast. So we will start off with IRP's review. So Indianapolis Raceway Park, as you guys know, it is the little half-mile track, about 8 miles out of Indianapolis. It's located in Brownsburg, Indiana, and it's a really, really fun short track. It's got that special charm about it. The surface is very old, and it's one of the very rare short tracks where the outside line has kind of always been the preferred groove. You don't wear the tires out. I mean, you still wear out the tires, but you don't wear out the tires as hard as you would running the bottom line. And it's just, and like I said, the surface is just really old. It is a very, very fun short track. You won't find many drivers who have bad things to say about IRP. It's a fun little short track, and a lot of people look forward to going it on the ARCA Menard Series schedule. And clearly so. We had 35 cars show up to this race, which meant we were going to have a DNQ. A DNQ at an ARCA race in 2025 at a non-super speedway, I honestly did not think that would ever happen. If you want me to be honest with you, I never thought we would ever see a DNQ at a non-plate ARCA race ever again. So to see 35 cars show up for this was pretty cool. And it did suck because that means we were going to have to send someone home, and qualifying ended up getting rained out anyway, so that really sucked. Poor Michael Clayton in the 5 car for City Garage didn't even get a chance to qualify. But you can't help the rain. Rain's been NASCAR's Achilles heel for the past few years. So, I mean, I think rain affected almost all 3 days of Indianapolis racing. So, yeah, that sucked. They still let them practice for a little bit, and the 5 car actually did make some practice laps. It was weird. It's like they missed the race, but they were practicing. But then somebody kindly filled me in, well, if somebody who was in the race crashed, did not have a backup car, well, then the 5 car would be allowed in. So that's why they allowed Michael to make some practice laps. And at least for Michael and the City Garage team, they got to make some practice laps. At least. And, at least they didn't show up for nothing. That's what I'm trying to say. At least they didn't just show up for nothing. So, but yeah, that was kind of practice. Like I said, very brief, a very, very brief session. And as you would expect, the guys at the top of the charts, it was actually the 2 Pinnacle Racing entries, Brendan Queen and Connor Mosak, and a second Pinnacle entry for this race. Brent Cruz obviously in third, LeVar Scott and Isabella Robusto rounded out the top 5. All 35 cars, of course, did take a lap. Qualifying, like I said, was just set was set based, I believe ARCA is just owner points. So Brendan Butterbean Queen was on the pole. Brent Cruz was second. Isaac Kitzmiller was third. Fourth was Lawless Allen, and fifth was Mason Mitchell. So that was your top 5 starting lineup because, of course, qualifying was rained out. One note is that this race was shortened by 50 laps. The race was shortened by 50 laps. I'm going to guess due to it running long, the truck race runs later in the night at IRP. So I can understand if they wanted to shorten the race to 25 to 150 laps to make sure that they could get it done before the TV window came in. For everyone who's just tuning in, again, welcome to the show. We're talking about IRP right now, the review portion of that, and then we're going to get to Iowa. But I just want to make sure I stay on the usual schedule we do at the ARCA Racing Podcast. So don't worry, we'll get to Iowa. Just stay with me. But yeah, so the race got started. Right out of the gate, we unfortunately had an engine failure. We had a few starting parks. We'll get to those in a second. But right out of the gate, 18 and 28, like usual. We've said it enough times. They're obviously the class of the field. Right out of the gate, unfortunately, City Garage. The day got worse for City Garage Motorsports. Becca Monopoly blew an engine, only 5 laps in. So unfortunately, the 5-car DNQs and the 85 blows up in 5 laps. So that really sucks because we actually had a lot of women in the race too. A huge women representation for this race. I believe it was Isabella Robusto, Candace Davenport, Regina Servant, Quinn Davis, Becca Monopoly. I think it was those 5. I hope I'm not missing one. I think it was just those 5 women. If I'm missing one, put in the chat and I'll give her a shout out. But we had a lot of women represented in this race, so it kind of sucks that one of them that was going to run the whole race was out on lap 5. We had a few starting parks. Matt Kemp, Doug Miller, they were out early. I'm not sure what was really wrong with Doug. It was just not really up to speed, it appeared on the broadcast. They caught him pretty quickly, but the car was kept in one piece, and that's really what I was hoping for. That good Doug would keep it in one piece for me. So we had 31 cars going the distance here, and unfortunately, the race had kind of strung out by this point. We had a few spin-outs, but nothing really too serious. The 28 was clearly the class of the field. The 18 was kind of like Dover. The 28, they just had that good short track setup in it. And obviously, we know Brendan Queen from the Cars Tour. He really has a knack for these tracks. Brent Cruz, you could still say Brent Cruz has a little bit of inexperience. Even though he does have a lot of short track experience, which he does, when you compare the two, Brendan does have the advantage in terms of more starts. But you could say Cruz has a more variety of tracks that he's raced at in terms of short tracks to road courses, obviously. So we had the big accident of the race, at least I would call it the biggest accident of the race, on lap 50. By the way, for the poor Michael Maples operation, I don't know what happened, but we had a series of hood pin failures. It was actually quite 4 or 5 hood pin failures. But both the 67 of Presley Sora and the 99 of Michael Maples both had hood failures. I'm not sure if I've ever seen 2 team cars have hoods fly up in the race before. That was a first. But yeah, so they had hoods fly up, and that pretty much ruined both of their days before it could really get going, so I felt bad for them. Then we had the big crash of the race. The 34 of Austin Vaughn. I still don't really know what happened, but Austin Vaughn, they said he lost it by himself, and he's just over there in turn 2, and you see this camera shot of all these cars coming, and it's like, is the caution out? All these cars are just hauling ass into turn 1, and then they see Austin, and then they all slam on the brakes, and poor Takuma had nowhere to go. Some people gave Takuma Koga some flack for that crash. I don't know what else Takuma could have done. You can't just jerk the wheel hard to the left like that. Even if he did, the car still would have went straight. I mean, it's an unfortunate crash because literally nothing probably could have prevented that 12 and 34 crash. And it really sucked for the Austin Vaughn team because you saw that car The rear end housing and the track bar, no doubt in my mind, those are done on that car. You literally saw the track bar mount snap during that replay if you looked hard enough. So that 34 car, it's at least for that team's budget, it's probably done for the year. I don't want to say it's probably killed, but it is heavily, heavily damaged. And that sucks for the Austin Vaughn operation because they have withdrawn from this weekend's race at Iowa. They were going to be at Iowa, now they're not. But Austin Vaughn will be driving. We'll get to that in a little bit. So that was kind of the big accident of the race. And once again, it just appeared that no one was really going to be able to challenge Brendan Queen, but we actually did have a competitive lead change on track. On lap 92, the 18 of Brent Cruz managed to run him down and pass him. And then after the big scheduled break, it's like the 28 just, I don't know, used up his stuff, almost in a way. I'm not sure if he did use up his stuff, but the 28 fell back to as far as 6th on the restart, and that pretty much allowed the 18 to get away. And even though we did have a few crashes for Brian Finney, who was making his return to the series, he got turned around by someone. And then poor Michael Maples, you know, he was in and out of the pits all night, and then he had another crash on lap 128 that eventually ended his day. Even through a final 19-lap run to the end, Lawless Allen was able to get to second place, and Isabella nearly was able to keep third, but she lost it back to Brendan Queen. But yeah, Brent Cruz was just in a league of his own. Not even the 28 could keep up with him. And so it was just, like I said, it was hard for a lot of people to keep up with them. Another quiet night for Venturini in terms of some of their other cars. Very quiet night for Mason Mitchell. Some people were telling me he was having motor issues. Sam Corey, not really familiar with the guy. He had kind of a quiet night, 13th. Tyler Reif, a quiet night. We did have the return of Thad Moffitt. He did about as good as he usually does. 10th place, not bad. Shout out to Isaac Kitzmiller. The young sensation continues to improve. He ended up 7th. We did have a few more DNFs and crashes. Like I said, the 12 was out, crashed. 34 was out due to the crash. Both the Maples cars failed to finish. I felt bad for Presley. They had starter issues. Car died, would not refire. Like I said, Brian Finney was crashed out. And then Brad Smith pulled out due to, it just said mechanical, but I'm not really sure if that really was a mechanical issue. It might have just been fatigue, because I know Brad, he's been struggling in the heat. 5 cars finished the race. Brent Cruz goes on to win. Surprisingly, and it's just because the 28 has been so dominant, this is only the 3rd win of the season, in the main division at least, for the 18 car. Brent Cruz won at Phoenix, Max Reeves won at Elko, and then, of course, at IRP. So, yeah. Wallace Allen second, which is good. Like I said, Venturini, it just feels like they're a little bit behind this year. Not really sure why. But it's good to see Lawless run up front again. Obviously, major points impacts, tying tying Brendan Queen for points earned. So the points gap is still the same. But for Lawless Allen, he is going to need to really start to claw back some points, because we're starting to get towards the end of the year. I know it's hard to believe, but we are, in terms of the main division, we're now 11 races in. So now we're on the downward slope of the season. And Lawless, he's still only 26 points behind, but he's going to have to start clawing his way back. And we got the road course next week. After Iowa, we got the road course in Watkins Glen. That could be a big factor race too, because we know Lawless Allen has more road course experience than Butterbean Queen. So, the rest of the results, like I said, Isabella Robusto hung on to 4th, LeVar Scott 5th, Connor Mosak in the second car. Thought he'd be a little bit more competitive. He ended up 6th. Isaac Kitzmiller 7th, Jason Kitzmiller 9th, Hunter Wright with a really good 9th place finish, and Thad Moffitt ended up 10th. Like I said, it was an okay race. Not, I would say, again, middle of the road ARCA race. Wasn't good, wasn't bad, and I think that's a fair critique. The mid-pack of the ARCA series, I continue to say it every episode, the mid-pack of the ARCA series is some of the best racing. It really is, and it doesn't get shined enough. I know the winning battle might be, only a few cars, but the 4th to 5th place to around 15th place battle in the ARCA Menard Series really, really is something. And an interesting shout out for the series, 18 cars finished on the lead lap. That is the most for an ARCA race in, I think someone pointed out, in almost 5 to 10 years. So, very good, more improvements by the other teams to keep up with the bigger teams of the ARCA Menard Series. So, yeah, that was IRP. The point standings coming out of that for the East Series are Tyler Reif is 14 points behind. Isaac Kitzmiller extends his lead. Zachary Tinkle is 24 points behind. They are the only trio right now running for the championship. Takuma Koga is too far back. Austin Vaughn is unfortunately too far back, and so is Brad Smith. So we have a three-way battle for the East Championship now with just 2 races to go. Yes, just 2 races to go in the East Series season. This weekend at Iowa and then Bristol. That will be the last 2 East races of the year, and those are both combo races. The main series point standings, Brendan Queen, again, did not gain any points, did not lose any points. The gap still remains at 26, and LeVar Scott is minus 37. If it gets above 40 points, I hate to say it, but I will have to probably eliminate LeVar Scott from the championship hunt unless something changes. But it's just, I know he's trying hard, and we all love LeVar Scott. We all want him to succeed, but it's hard to beat that 28-18, man. Even with the good people that Rev Racing has, the budget that they have, they can spend the money, but it's just the 28 and the 18 are doing it better, and I hate it because I have a lot of good friends who work at Rev Racing, and I want to see them succeed because they definitely put the work in. That's for sure. So, but yeah, that was IRP, and now we get to the portion of the podcast that I know you guys really came here for. And that is, yes, I am making my ARCA Menard Series debut at Iowa Speedway in the Atlas 150 this Friday, only a few days away. Driving the number 86 DEI Construction Race Parts Liquidators Ford. I am very honored and privileged to be amongst a good field of drivers. 27 cars for this weekend's ARCA Menard Series event at Iowa Speedway. The biggest field at Iowa Speedway since 2016, so that's another thumbs up for the ARCA Menard Series, gaining field sizes back, especially when you consider that for this race, just 2 years ago, we only had 20 cars. For the 2023 race, we only had 20 cars show up. So to have 7 more cars show up 2 years later is very impressive. And we would have had 28, but like I said, the 34 withdrew. And through some sources, it appears that the Man Motorsports cars, both the 95 and 96, were going to show up as well, and they withdrew. So we potentially could have had 30. But we will go over the names of the drivers right now, starting from the top like usual, so bear with me as I read all this off. The number 2 of Eloy Falcon, so we have 2 Rev Racing entries this week. LeVar Scott in the 6, Candace Davenport. In the 7, Mike Basham in the 9, Tony Cosentino in the 10, Zachary Tinkle in the 11, Takuma Koga in the 12. Chris Wright returns to the ARCA Menard Series in a couple race deal. I believe he's driving Kansas and the Glen, I think. He's driving the 15, so it's great to see the 15 car back in the Venerini stable. Brent Cruz, of course, in the 18. Lawless Allen in the 20. Tyler Reif in the 23. Mason Mitchell in the 25. Good to see Tim Richmond back in the 27. Butterbean Queen in the 28. Quinn Davis in the 31. Brad Smith in the 48. Isabella Robusto in the 55. Austin Vaughn will still be driving this weekend in the 67 for Michael Maples. Regina Servant in the 68 for Kimmel. Sam Corey returns to the 70. Isaac Kitzmiller in the 79. Yours truly in the 86. 97 of Jason Kitzmiller. 99 of Michael Maples, 01 of Trevor Ward, 03 of Alex Clubb, and the 06 of Brayton Laster. So that is your field size for Iowa. 27 cars, which, like I said, at a track like Iowa, it's a respectable amount. I mean, it's not the mayhem chaos of 34 cars last week, and, I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of okay with that. 27 cars at a 7/8 mile. It's a 7/8 mile, yeah. It's not a 3/4 mile. I always get that mixed up. And, my goal is just to run all the laps, make the officials proud, earn the respect of the drivers in the field. To any ARCA Menard Series drivers who might watch my show, thank you for letting me race in your series, and I hope I do a good job with y'all. I don't want to be in anybody's way. I know what car I'm getting into. I know I'm not going to go out there and win. Not in this car. We know that. It's just a reality. But we're going to go out and do our best. And I hope I can impress some people, like I said, earn some respect. And hopefully this isn't the only one. As of right now, I'm not afraid to say it, as of right now, this is the only ARCA Menard start that I have planned. I would love to do more. I want to focus more on my vintage stuff with my old Cup car. That will be the primary focus. But if we can do a few ARCA Menard races a year, specifically at Iowa, maybe Kansas, that's fine. But as far as we know, this might just be a one and done. But I hope not. I hope not, because you never know in the racing business. You never say never. So, but like I said, we talked about the point standings. Lawless Allen really needs to catch Butterbean, but they won last year with Connor Zilich, and we know how strong Butterbean is. At pretty much everywhere we go, we know how good Shane Huffman is with his setups. Even though he's not the crew chief anymore, he still works for the team, so he's still like a master of what he does. But we know how strong that 18 team will be as well. All three of them, though, I don't believe have ever raced Iowa Speedway before. So that could be a somewhat disadvantage and could be an advantage to LeVar Scott. Because he technically, he ran last year's race where Cruz, Allen, and Butterbean did not. As far as I don't remember them in the field last year. So that could be an advantage to LeVar Scott on how to attack the track as the race goes on. And we did notice a lot in the IndyCar races at Iowa Speedway a few weeks ago that the repaved section of the track has aged. It has aged a little bit. So will it race a little bit different compared to last year, where last year you absolutely had to run in that patch? Will that change a little bit this year? Who knows? Who knows? We don't really know until we'll hit the track for practice. But yeah, I'm just really thankful, and I just want to thank my family. I want to thank the people who hired me. For people who don't know, I work at Casey's. That is my regular day job. So I'm just a regular guy who works a regular job. I obviously do this YouTube channel on the side for fun. So I'm just a regular guy out here trying to live a dream. And a lot of the support that I've gotten, it really does mean the world to me. And I really want to thank you all for that. Because, it's really easy to hate on people. And I've gotten a lot of hate for many times over stupid stuff, in the past. And to see, personal growth in me, personal growth in a lot of my friends. It's nice. It's really nice, and I know what to say, and now I'm on camera, and I'm trying to say it, and I can't. I don't know if that makes sense to y'all. I'm trying to say how I feel, and now that I'm on camera, I can't do it. But just know that I'm really humbled, and excited for this opportunity. And I hope to make all of you proud. That's the one thing. I want to make myself proud. I want to make you guys proud. I want to make the ARCA Menard Series officials proud. Just because, I've worked so hard for this. For the people, like I said, who have followed me, I have done so many ARCA races with crew, and I've literally done every single position on an ARCA team that you could do. Car chief, crew chief, spotter, fueler, jackman, front tire changer, rear tire changer. I feel like I've done it all except drive the car. And now that's going to become a reality. So it's just to be able to say I've done pretty much every position somebody could do with a race car. It means the world. It really does mean the world. And I'm excited to take you guys all on that journey with me. It's just hard to believe it's only going to be one day. It feels like it's going to be a whole week or a weekend of days, and it's literally just going to be one day. But I will be doing an appearance as well at Menards tomorrow at the Ankeny, Iowa Menards. So if you guys, for anybody who's from Iowa who might watch my show, if you're in the area from 5 to 7 p.m. tomorrow, we'll have the 86 car on display. Excuse me there. But we'll have the 86 car on display where you can come meet me, come see the car, get some pictures. We will have hero cards. So if you guys can make it out to that, that would be nice. But yeah, I almost still can't put into words how excited I am. And, and to race with fellow Iowans too. We got, candidates from Slater, Iowa, and then we got Mason Mitchell from West Des Moines, Iowa. Now, I do love that they did get my hometown wrong. I'm actually from Pearl, Iowa, but they put Des Moines. I wonder if that's because they couldn't find Pearl. It is a very tiny town. I live in a very small town in Iowa. Sometimes I just say West Des Moines or Des Moines just because more people can understand where that is on a map. So yeah, I find that kind of funny that they just said Des Moines, Iowa. But that's pretty cool that we're going to have a few Iowa people in the race. A really good representation from Iowa. And I'm not going to say that they're going to finish ahead of me because you never know. You never know. Maybe I could finish ahead of Candence and Mason, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, just like I said, thanks to everyone for the continued support. I really just can't say it enough. And like I said, to any ARCA people watching this podcast, thank you. Just thank you for welcoming me into the garage as a crew member, and I hope you guys welcome me the same as a driver. I don't know how long it'll be, how many times I'll be doing it as a driver, but regardless, thank you. And to all my fans and supporters, thank you. To my family, thank you. Yeah. So it'll be live on Fox Sports 1 this Friday at 6 p.m. Central Time, not Eastern. So remember that, Central Time. It is 150 laps. Kind of always has been. Remember when the ARCA race used to be 250 laps? The OG people might not remember that. The ARCA race at Iowa, the first year it was ran, was 250 laps. Boy, that would be fun. There will be a race break. I'm trying to find it. There will be 2 race breaks, conclusion of lap 50 and lap 100. So we'll be making 2 mandatory pit stops in the race. First place with contingency awards is $16,750. Last place, 27th, is $1,450. So, and like I said, guys, just a one-day show, not a 2-day show. I'm not gonna lie though, I'm a little disappointed that there is no autograph session. I was kind of looking forward to that. So no autograph session, that kind of sucks. But at least I get to do the appearance. At least I get to do the appearance at Menards. So I'll still get to do some sort of autograph session. But yeah, so that's the details for the race. The Atlas 150, like I said, live on Fox Sports 1 and, of course, on the Motor Racing Network. So cheer for me tomorrow, y'all. Cheer for me tomorrow. Whether you want to cheer for me to do a good job or you're going to cheer for me to wreck. I don't know. Regardless, I just want y'all to cheer for me. So, but anyway, guys, sorry the podcast was not as long as it usually is. I've just been very busy this week, but I wanted to have time to squeeze in a podcast so I could still talk about IRP briefly and mostly talk about, this weekend, which it means to me to be able to have this opportunity. So, thank you guys for watching. Please watch the race. Support me, support the team, Club Racing Inc., not just me, support the 03 Valks Club too, and support everyone in the ARCA Menard Series Garage nonetheless. Support everybody. So, thank you all for watching. Give you all the goodbye salute, and we will see you all on next week's podcast where we will review my debut at Iowa Speedway. So, we'll see you all on next week's podcast. Goodbye.